Now broadcasting from the Next Gen Conservative Studio in sunny South Florida, bringing you the latest in politics, current events, and pop culture. This is the Whitfield Report with Sam Whitfield.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for the Whitfield Report. And wow, what an amazing past 24 hours we've had in terms of the news cycle. At the time of recording this video, I believe it's been exactly 24 hours since it was announced that Elon Musk took over Twitter. His Twitter acquisition was indeed successful, and it's very interesting to know how people are reacting to this. First and foremost, just my initial reaction was, wow, the madman actually did it. There were a lot of people that did not want him taking over Twitter. There are still a lot of people who are unhappy that he took over Twitter, and we will, we'll get into why that is here in just a second. But honestly, folks, I have not been this giddy really since Donald Trump won the election in 2016. Really since election night 2016, to be precise. It was a huge upset then because Trump was not supposed to win, according to, the mainstream narrative. Hillary Clinton was supposed to be the anointed one. It was her turn to be president, and Donald Trump was a rodeo clown in their, minds. He was not one to be taken serious. And then he went and did it, and for the next, really the next 2 years, they spun a whole narrative about Russia. They bitched and moaned endlessly about him being president. It really was not it was not a pretty sight. I don't think they took Hillary's loss as well as they could have. And I'm seeing a lot of parallels between how the left is reacting, to Elon buying out Twitter, to how they reacted when Trump became president. Now, to be fair, I don't think Elon Musk is particularly right-wing. I don't think he's necessarily conservative, leaning. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. Ultimately, though, he doesn't seem like that much of a political guy. He seems to be a free speech absolutist. He has said so in, interviews that I've heard. He has said that he wants Twitter to be a platform for all. In fact, since we are talking about Twitter, let me go to his Twitter real quick. Oh yes, and we'll get into these headlines as well. But let me navigate on over to Twitter real quick. Okay. And let's go to Elon. Okay. Let's go to Elon's Twitter timeline. And boy, oh boy, is it, this place is hopping. Um, and, there you have it. Let me go ahead and retweet that right now. The extreme antibody reaction from those who fear free speech says it all. Yeah, and this is what it comes down to. He's not really looking to censor anyone, as far as I can tell. He just wants the platform to be open, to everyone. Let me see if I can find the, the thing. Okay. So let's pull this up. Yesterday, Musk said, "Free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated," said Mr. Musk. I also want to make Twitter better than ever before by making the product with new features, making the algorithms open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots, and verifying all human. Twitter has, tremendous potential. I look forward to working with the company and the community of users to unlock it. Okay, so that is what he said yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. So he's not talking about, turning into a right-wing echo chamber. That's what the narrative is. Oh, Trump's, Trump is Elon and Elon is Trump. They're the same person, almost identical, sort of. That's what the media narrative seems to be. He just wants it to be open and, free for everyone. And what is so bad about that? Well, let's just look at all these headlines. There's nothing bad about it, in my opinion, folks. I'm all for it. Let's turn Twitter into, the free speech, zone where anyone and everyone can come to communicate, right? But here's the narrative that is coming about. Okay, so from the mainstream media, we have several articles. Twitter has been focused on healthy conversations. Elon Musk could change that. And that's from CNN. And their definition of healthy conversation is basically censor anyone who is too far right from speaking, or who they think is, unhealthy. Twitter workers face a reality they've long feared: Elon Musk as owner. Really? Which Twitter employees are afraid? There are several other ones. There's a great one I read, just the headline, from the New Yorker, which we all know is a far left rag. This headline here pretty much says it all. How Congress can prevent Elon Musk from turning Twitter back into an unfettered disinformation machine. So this right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is the narrative that they're really trying to push. That, when Trump was on Twitter, it was anarchy and chaos, and, prior to 2018 or whenever, it was just chaos. It was, people were just slinging, disinformation and arrows and probably fecal matter on Twitter. It was chaos. It was a dumpster fire. Disinformation everywhere. That's what the left cries out when they're presented with an argument that they don't like. Oh, you're just spreading disinformation. You're just spreading lies. Well, how is having a debate about something like a certain jab, how is raising concerns about that? How is that spreading disinformation? How is questioning, Joe Biden's viability as president of the United States? How is that spreading disinformation? How is Elon Musk allowing hundreds of thousands of just ordinary people who have been banned? How is that allowing the spread of misinformation, right? That seems to be a big bone of contention here. Now, disinformation is the big catch-all here, right, folks? That's the main argument that the left is using for why Elon's takeover is bad. That and hate speech, which at this point, ladies and gentlemen, and we've covered it on the show multiple times, hate speech is such a catch-all term now. It doesn't really mean anything anymore. Basically, the left has made it, that anything I don't like is hate speech. Anything I disagree with is hate speech. Right? And so going back to Elon's tweet, the extreme antibody reaction from those who fear free speech says it all. And I completely agree 100%. This is not something that people should be afraid of. The ones who are afraid of Elon's takeover and wanting to turn this back into free speech are the people who want to control a narrative and who want you to use big tech to do it. Now, as some of you may remember, a few months ago, I had my friend Sean Semenko, host of Real News, founder of Uncensored America, just an all-around great guy. I had him on because he was banned from Twitter for platform manipulation. Right? But when I asked him what platform manipulation was, or if they, explained to him how he was, manipulating Twitter's platform, he said they didn't know. He said he didn't know. That was just the term they gave him, and he was permabanned. So the only accounts that he has, available to him at this time are the Versa Media, accounts which he only uses to tweet out the Real News podcast, and then Uncensored America, which is his organization's Twitter account. But he himself has no personal Twitter account, right? And, platform manipulation, like I said, that is such a broad, sweeping term. My friend Rob Lorch, who I've talked about on the show before, ladies and gentlemen. I met Rob on the old Dennis Miller radio show forums. Back when that was a thing, excuse me. Back when I first moved to Florida. Way back in the day. Rob was one of the most entertaining people on Twitter. He was funny. He was witty. He still is. He's not dead. And he was political somewhat, but mostly he would just retweet political things from other accounts, and then mostly his whole thing was he would either like post jokes, or he was big into like 80s horror film stuff. I remember he would tweet a lot about that. He got banned. I can't remember why. I think it was because like some feminist um, activist basically called him a rapist or something. He basically told her to pound sand. She basically flagged him for harassment or something like that. And he got banned. Even though she was the one who instigated it. Yeah. Right? So there are definitely cases like that. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, while we are on this video, let me go to my profile here. I want people to see this. Hold on a sec. Okay. This was a tweet that I put out yesterday on Twitter. Dear Elon Musk, I humbly ask that you unban my friend Rob at our Lorch, as he was unfairly banned 5 years ago. He has a great sense of humor, and his avatar is Vincent Price, as Egghead too. So how can you say no to that? Thank you. And, hopefully we will be getting the edit button, folks, because, there is a typo here, as you can see. And there's no way to edit that. And, my good friend Dominicus Saxon, I second this. Rob Lorch is one of the funniest, cleverest, and smartest people on Twitter. Hashtag free Lorch, which I completely agree with. It's gotten 10 likes and one quote tweet from Rachel Winstead. Shout out to her and her husband Jeff, the fantastic comic book artist. And, Rob Lorch is not like a celebrity. He's not like some edgy shit poster or anything like that. I mean, he is a celebrity in my world, in my small little corner of the internet. He should be. He's certainly comedically talented enough. But, he's just an ordinary guy. And he got unfairly banned from Twitter. But there are other accounts that were banned that already have come back. I think off the top of my head, my good friend John Arcade, he is back on Twitter actually after being banned. I think he was banned actually before I met him, honestly, because he just followed me last night. I know that Drunk 3PO's account was back, so that's good. Baked Alaska's account, although, I'm not a big fan of Baked Alaska anymore, he's back on Twitter. And yes, folks, I do want to get into that a little bit. Because, right, there are some people on the right who I think are troublemakers, and who I don't necessarily agree with. Owen Benjamin being the most notable one, right? Owen Benjamin doxed two of my friends. was harassing them. By extension, his cult fans were like spamming my chats, trying to like harass me on Twitter, trying to get my stuff taken down. Right, because I called out Owen on some of his BS when he went crazy. But I've always said that, one of the reasons why I think Owen Benjamin went crazy was because he got censored from Twitter. And, the decline in Owen, it seemed pretty, sharp once he got banned from Twitter. And so, while I don't agree with, Owen on a lot of stuff now, I definitely think that censoring him and banning him from Twitter hurt him. To be honest, I don't think he would have become as crazy or radical, uh, if he were still on Twitter. I think he would have had, more mainstream voices, or more, I guess, not even mainstream, but more rational voices, perhaps, speaking to him. And this is the other thing, too, is like, censorship, they've even done studies on this. One of, one of the big arguments for banning, like, super right-wing people is, or like, you know, hate speech accounts like the KKK. One reason they have is, well, they don't want to radicalize people, right? They don't want to allow social media to become a breeding ground for hate speech. The problem with banning speech off Twitter, even if it is hate speech, is those who seek that stuff out will find it anyway. And they'll go down rabbit holes. They'll go deeper and deeper into their echo chambers. And it never ends up well, turning out well anyway. Whereas you go onto a platform like Twitter back in the old days, when things are open, when you have, a diversity of opinion. Yeah, you might get hate speech. You might get some racist speech. But I guarantee you, like back in the old days of Twitter, if if someone said something like, uh, you know, white people are superior to black people, or uh, vice versa, black people are superior to white people, uh, or anything like overtly racist. Back in the old days, you would have people, you know, reply to that person. And yeah, you might get people, that say, fuck you, that's racist, or, whatever. But there were a lot of instances back in the old days of Twitter where you would get radical people like, people from the Westboro Baptist Church who would tweet out, insane things. Um, But then, counter to that, you would have black people responding to them and questioning their logic and actually challenging them to an intellectual debate. And that's really what we need, in Twitter. We don't need more censorship of thought. We already have that. And too much of it at this point. I'll be bold enough to say that. The only antidote to hate speech is more speech and good speech. Don't censor hate speech. Allow good speech, to come in and counteract that hate speech if it's such an issue for you. Censorship does not work. Now, doxing and like threatening and harassment, that's a different story. But if it actually like causes harm to your physical safety, Like if someone's threatening to kill you, and it's, active, and it's verifiable. That's one thing. That's shouting fire in a movie theater. But claiming hate speech because someone says something distasteful or something you don't agree with, that should not be bannable. That should be debated maybe, and allowed for discussion, but it certainly should not be banned. So that's just my take on the whole free speech thing with Twitter. In regards to features I'd like to have, well, we certainly need an edit button. And I know Elon is looking at doing that, and that's kind of the meme at this point. The Elon bought out Twitter simply to add an edit button, right? That's one of the memes. But no, I think an edit button needs to be taken into account. I think the UI might need to be cleaned up a bit. One feature that I really think needs to be brought back is is allowing ordinary accounts to be verified. And what do I mean by verified? Well, back in the early days of Twitter, basically anyone could apply to be verified, to have a blue check mark. Verification essentially means that your profile is your official profile, that it's you who is representing an account and not like a fan account, or not someone doing like a parody, or kind of like an impersonation account. And I think now Twitter verification is kind of like a a celebrity status type of thing. But in all honesty, I think verification should be like open to anyone who is actually willing to verify their identity. Because I, for one, have multiple accounts. I have this one and then I have a backed one, but I also have, I've seen there was an account like about a year or so ago that was using my profile picture and that was kind of like impersonating me to send spam to people. And fortunately I was able to report it and shut it down and whatnot. But by having my actual Twitter account verified, by having that blue check mark, people could know that it's actually me, speaking and representing myself. Even though I'm a major public figure, I still am a public figure, somewhat. So, just like on Minds, I think we should be allowed to verify easily. So, that's my main shtick. Now, as far as like other platforms like, Minds and Gab, listen, I think Gab is pretty much dead. If they do bring back Trump and they start to bring back all these other banned figures back onto Twitter, I think Gab is dead. Minds, listen, I actually think Minds will continue to maybe be a viable thing, because people say that Minds is a Twitter alternative, but honestly, I see Minds as more like a Facebook alternative, to be honest. And Minds is also trying to do its own thing with crypto, currency and whatnot, and using that for social media. So honestly, I don't think alt tech should necessarily be shut down or anything now that Twitter is, in more responsible hands. If anything, I think, people should be allowed to, be on multiple platforms, and maybe some of these platforms can actually be real competitors to Twitter now. But honestly, those are just some of my initial thoughts on this whole thing. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. really appreciate everyone for tuning into this video. And for those of you watching this, I will have a video and actually a full-length episode of the podcast up later today. So be sure to check that out. My good friend Luke Nicholas is my guest. We recorded an interview on Sunday. We talked for 2 hours. So that will be premiering at like 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Spotify and on YouTube. So be on the lookout for that. Should be pretty good. But folks, I want to thank you for all your time. And thanks for watching this video and or listening to the podcast version. And until next time, God bless, God save this great nation, God, freedom, legacy in that order, and I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for listening to The Whitfield Report on the NGC Network. Please visit Sam's website at www.thesamwhitfield.com and support Sam on Patreon at patreon.com/Whitfield Report. Until next time, God bless, God save this great nation, and God, freedom, legacy in that order.